I'm Mujeeb, Environmental Health and Safety Director at Landus, and here's your Farm Safety Week tip of the day. Tip number 1, you want to make sure and take care of yourself. Get plenty of rest and sleep, stay hydrated. You want to eat regularly. Make sure that you've got some snacks in a cooler, healthy snacks that'll help you get through this busy time. You want to avoid any excess sugar or caffeine. That might help you in the early stages, but will hurt you in the long run. And more importantly, understand that when fatigue sets in, that's when injuries and mistakes happen. And so we want to make sure that you take care of yourself so that you have a very safe spring planting season. Tip number 2, check your equipment. You want to do an equipment check before you head out on the road. Make sure that your guards, headlights, taillights, signs are all in good shape. You want to make sure that you've got the right PPE. You got gloves, goggles. Make sure that you've got those and that they're in good working order. You want to make sure that all exposed PTO units are properly guarded so that there aren't any issues and any injuries in those PTO shafts. Tip number 3, remember roadway safety. Before you get out on the roadway, make sure and do a pre-ride inspection on your tractor and any other implements that you may be towing. Make sure you got plenty of fuel, all lights and signals are in good working order. Adjust your mirrors, make sure those are in good shape so that you can see behind you. Make sure that you've got that slow-moving vehicle sign on display so that everybody's aware that you're not going to be going very fast. And if you are driving your tractor, just be aware of other vehicles on the roadway and take special precautions. You're much wider on the roadway than those other vehicles are, and just make sure that you're taking those things into account so that, heaven forbid, you don't have a collision or an accident. Number 4, make sure you review your chemical and safety precautions. Chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, anhydrous ammonia, fertilizer, all those things can enter your body through either breathing it in, absorbing through your skin, drinking it. So just make sure you're aware of all of those and all the different precautions that are necessary. 97% of all the chemical exposures that happen through skin contact. So make sure that you've got long sleeves. Make sure that you've got goggles on. Make sure you've got gloves. And those are especially important if we're handling anhydrous ammonia. That can be, although it's a very, very useful fertilizer, I don't know what we do without it, but it needs to be handled with a lot of care to prevent any major injuries. Tip number 5, be prepared for an emergency. First and foremost, communicate with family, friends, what field you'll be in, where you'll be at, when your anticipated time coming home is, just so that they can make sure and check in on you. It's very important for you to check in with those individuals from time to time so that they know that you're okay. You want to have a first aid kit in the tractor or in your other vehicles. That's up to date. It's got everything in it that you might need, and all the supplies are there in case you do need to use it for an emergency. And lastly, you want to make sure and have emergency phone numbers readily available. Either have a card in the first aid kit or somewhere in your cab with those numbers, or program them in your phone so that if, heaven forbid, there's an accident, a release or something along those lines, that you can readily call in that help and get the response needed to make sure everything's okay. So if you follow these 5 tips, they'll help you have a very safe and productive spring season. Here at Landus, we care about all of our farmer members, and we want to make sure that they all have a very, very safe and prosperous planting season.